All right, my name is Juliet, and I'm going to be talking about how an artist's book can become a collaboration, sometimes with myself or sometimes with the reader. I'm going to show a bunch of different forms of artist books, not something you may necessarily think of as an artist book. So it started in 1978. I made a book with my other 8-year-old cousin because we didn't want to play with our younger sister, who was 4, because she was a baby. So we made the Book of Tortures, and this is how we spelled tortures when we were 8 years old. So we had the Book of Tortures. You can see I was already experimenting with typography and design. And what we did was we made a Book of Tortures. And if my sister chose a torture and would go through with it, then we would play with her. Seems fair. Our favorite was putting her in a sleeping bag and throwing her down the stairs. So now my sister might think of it differently, but that's just how it all started. Next. So when I was in college, I wrote a story called Drowning Girls Are Sexy. If I wasn't a girl, I would have been a fish and we would have met at a stream. I decided to make an artist book out of it. So this is a cigar box covered in paper fish and then the story. But that's not where it really begins. When you open the box, you see all the lines from the story with illustrations on laminated cards. And this is where the viewer becomes my collaborator, because the viewer decides what order the cards are going to be in. And they can reorder them and do it again, but this is a project between me and the reader. So I went to grad school for computer art. And the internet was just starting to take off. I am that old. And I wrote a story called Charmed by Lust, and it's an artist book online. So it may be a website, but I think of it as an artist book. And it's interactive, such that the user can click on a number on the left, and then a page will come up on the right with illustrations and text. And so again, the viewer is part of the storyteller. The viewer goes to number 3 and then number 2 and then back to 3. You can see some of the illustrations. Some of the text was, if only I could die with a scream, a scammer I would be. However, once is said is done, I do not wish to cheat you. However, once is said and done, I will surely beat you. And here you can see a detail on the right and the page on the left. Grapefruit. There's something on the screen. Oh, so I didn't write grapefruit. I know you all thought I did. So Yoko Ono wrote Grapefruit, and it changed my understanding of book art and interactivity and Fluxus and everything wonderful this woman does. So this book, it's like a mini phone book, and you go through it, and on every page is an instruction, and you go to your page, and sometimes there are things you can do, and sometimes there are things you can't do. I particularly like give death announcements each time you move instead of giving announcements of a change of dress. Send the same when you die. But again, this is a collaborative piece. This is not Yoko Ono's piece. This is our piece. I'm going to flip to page 42, and you can flip to page 58. And if you decide to execute the task, fabulous. You've completed the book just by being there. Finger lickin' chick. So I wrote a story about a boy who wanted to be a chicken. And I laid it out all ready to go, just made this whole book structure, illustrations, the story, and you could download it and print it. And it also came with instructions about how to turn it into a book. So again, I did half of it, but you did half of it, because you cut it up and you made it into a book. How it feels falling for you. This is a collection I did about heartbreak, which many of my shows are about heartbreak. I have a really nice husband, and everyone wonders why I'm always writing about heartbreak. But he's very nice. So the book I made here, you wouldn't necessarily call it a collaboration. It is not a catalog. I brought the catalog to show along with this. This is a part of the exhibition, How It Feels Falling for You. You can see the cover on the left. It's inspired by the vampire butterflies on the right. There were 14 vampire butterflies hanging in the exhibition. This is another spread. So the piece on the right is exploded, so you can make your own. It points out there's the illustration, there's how you feel right now. Why can't I find love on my hard drive? Maybe I'm looking for too much from my computer. This spread, you see the photo on the right is me standing next to the piece with the name of the exhibition. On the left is the excerpt from the catalog, which you can see out of context, it makes an entirely different interpretation of the piece, because you see so much as compared to when you're far away and you don't get that same intimacy. So a lot of the stuff I do, I feel like it's really silly and you can't take it seriously. So I had to put it in the book. This was derived from a piece about zombie fish. I hope you don't take that seriously. But again, this was part of the way to understand the show. It gave you a blueprint. I'm uncomfortable, you should be too. That's like right now. So I'm uncomfortable, you should be too. I had a different kind of artist book that went along with the show. I'm uncomfortable, you should be too, the coloring book. So the collection is about images that I put together that make things a little weird, a little uncomfortable. And so I took all my drawings and made a book for you to color in. So on the left, you can see the uncomfortable egg with chicken feet, and on the right, the page from the coloring book. Here we have Untouchable, and here we have Night Music Never Sounded Like This. But again, this is incomplete until you take the crayons and color in the lines, or out of the lines. But this becomes a collaboration between you and me and the coloring book. The Moment Before You Run. Now, a lot of you may have seen this show. This was an artist book that went along with it. I'm bringing it up not just to talk about it, but to address the issue that, yes, traditionally an artist book, you make the paper and then you sew the paper together and then you make the cover. I work digitally, and I don't think there's anything less about making your artist book on your computer. I do lots of stuff on my computer, and I don't think it's a secondary or cheat. Next. So the story was that the rabbit was looking at a cloud, and she thought she was looking in a mirror since she was made of the same material. And she got scared and ran, and this is the moment before she ran. So The Moment Before You Run is the story of a rabbit by Juliet Martin. So each of these pages gives another story that's sort of like what I just told you, but giving a little more perspective, a different sort of interaction. And this is the moment before she runs. So I know these aren't traditional things, so I put together a website, a web page for people. It's, they'll be sending out the link. It has artist books, it has artist book resources by art organizations and by universities who just have lots and lots and lots of links where you can go. And hopefully you can scan through them and find the kind of thing that inspires you. My website, the Charm by Lust, is fine. You can find that on there too. So that's it. Oh. One more thing. I know I'm not supposed to do this. I'm having a show at the Gowanus Art Tasting Studio, but I'm only telling you because I brought everybody an invitation, which is a little book. So come up to me and I'll give you a little book.